moment. Let's wait a couple of seconds.
All right.
I'll let you know right away. Give me a few seconds.
It says you're live, Jonathan.
Yes, we are now live. We can start our meeting.
Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan. All right. So meeting is called to order. Good evening, everyone. My name is Faye Florimon. I'm the chair of the Recruitment Committee. I would like to welcome all of you and thank you for being present, for witnessing this important meeting. And for the record, this is agenda number 5, and today is Monday, May 11, 2020. And right now it's 7:11 p.m. Welcome all and thank you again. So I would like to proceed with reading the agenda and just sharing a few details. As you already have previously noticed, we have 2 items in our agenda. And let me take one step back. And before I proceed going over the entitled agenda, I would like to introduce a member of my committee and then proceed with the rest of the presented and as the agenda indicated. So members, please, Gali, identify yourself. So we have
Gabriela Estrella, hello.
Thank you. Hello, Gabby.
Hi all, I'm Jonathan from Ict.
Thank you. Who else we have? Other members?
This is Glennis Aquino Gill. Hi, everyone. Hope everyone's doing okay and staying safe.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else from the committee?
Hi, my name is Mariela Graham. I'm a new member.
Welcome, Mariela.
Welcome. Yes. All right. Well, somewhere I hope that I know that perhaps yet, but maybe they are watching via YouTube. Christina. We also have Guillermo Perez. These are public members. And now I see that, Waldi, can you identify yourself, please?
Yes, hi everybody. Hey, I was struggling with the audio and stuff. I was trying to say my name for attendance, but hey, I'm here.
Thank you. He's our assistant chair. Thank you, Waldi. Thank you. Anybody else? Who else? All right, so I guess that the rest of them will arrive later on. So let's proceed. So I would like to go briefly over the agenda. As you may have seen or witnessed before, we have 2 items in our agenda, 2 presentations. The first presentation, we're gonna have the Wind Musical Community Charter School. That's the first presentation. We're supposed to have a second presentation, which is from it's supposed to be from the Corner Project, if I'm not mistaken. Unfortunately, they will not be able to present this time. Unfortunately, they have another unforeseen inconvenience, and that's the reason why they just called me and notified that they will be able to join us this evening. So perhaps there is a possibility that they will come back in September. So let's see by then how things, hopefully will fall in place by then. So following the presentation from Wind Music Community Charter School, we're gonna have all of you gonna have the opportunity to ask questions. We also are going on in the next phase, which would be the old and new business. It will be at that particular phase of the agenda where anyone that may have any announcement or any event or any particular announcement that they wanted to share with us or with the community, that would be the opportunity to do so. And of course, following the adjournment, you will see on the agenda when our next meeting will be held. So welcome all, and let's proceed with our first presenter. So I would like to introduce Charlie Ortiz, who is the Executive Director of WIN Musical Community Charter School. He will be presenting and WIN Musical Community Charter School updates and future plans, and which is to speak directly on the issue about the proposal that they have on the new sites coming on in our community on 181st. More to come will be provided by Mr. Ortiz, along with his team, with his Tom Gluck, who is the architect, Amber, I believe the last name is Kartalayan, who is the representing from Equity Environment, also Amanda Ayanori, who is representative from the real estate attorney firm Sheldon and Lovell. So welcome all, and Charlie, the floor is yours.
So first off, I want to say just thank you to everybody on the committee for allowing us to be here tonight. Faye, this is personally just really meaningful to me, just because I think it's been like 4 years since you and I first met. So for the other folks, just to let you know, when WIN was being founded, a former colleague and I met and presented to this board about the idea of the school. And it was just, I remember it being a very valuable conversation we all had. And so it just feels really great to be back here. It also dawned on me that it's been 4 years and you haven't been to the school yet. So once this coronavirus thing is past us, it would be great to have you and anyone else from the committee come and visit the school. We're going to talk a lot about the school tonight, but really there's no substitution to just being there in person and feeling the energy through the walls. So I'm going to share my screen if that's okay, and let Amber introduce herself. Or sorry, Amanda, yes.
Allow me to interrupt. Yes.
Is there?
Yeah, I was just going to
Okay.
yourself.
Who's gonna share the screen, Amanda or Charlie?
It's going to be my screen, and Amanda's going to introduce herself now.
Okay, now you can proceed. And
Good
share your
evening,
screen.
everyone.
Thank you.
As Charlie's pulling up the presentation, I'll just give a little bit of background about the application that we have filed at the Board of Standards and Appeals. It is a special permit application to permit the WIN Community Charter Music Community Charter School. We need the special permit application at the Board of Standards and Appeals because a school use is actually not permitted as of right in the subject zoning district, which is a C83 zoning district. Therefore, we filed the application at the Board of Standards and Appeals for the special permit to allow the school to locate on 181st Street. The agenda this evening that we have prepared will just be a brief welcome, followed by a history of the school, a current snapshot of the existing location, the proposed new facility, and then we'll follow up with questions.
Thank you. So the Washington Heights and Inwood Music Community Charter School was founded in 2016 to support Washington Heights and Inwood. WHIN is actually an acronym for Washington Heights and Inwood. I promise we do know the right way to spell the word WIN. We are a single standalone charter school that is the organic outgrowth of the WIN Music Project. And so the WIN Music Project, in case you're not sure, is an after school and weekend El Sistema performing arts center. And based on the success of the WIN Music Project in 2012, a lot of the families of the WIN Music Project wanted to do more of it. And so this idea got kicked around about how could we grow a school, a full school with music at its core, to be able to do El Sistema work in a full school environment. So a whole bunch of people got together and created a team to figure out what that could look like. I joined that team, and in 2016, we put forth an application to the state of New York to start the school. It got approved, and we've been running it every day since. We are actually the first El Sistema inspired charter school in New York City, and only the second El Sistema school in the country. We'll talk more about El Sistema as we go, but it is crucial to our mission and vision. We are also a free charter school that admits students based on a lottery. And moving forward, our mission statement reads pretty plainly: the Washington Heights and Inwood Music Community Charter School will provide our diverse student population with rigorous academic instruction, intensive music education, and a positive learning environment so that every student can thrive academically and personally. The idea of every student being able to thrive has been key to who and what we are, because we are a deeply inclusive school, and we mean inclusive in every way that you could possibly imagine. Our curriculums are project-based. They're very hands-on. We use ELA for our main ELA curriculum, supported by Readers and Writers Workshop. We use Bridges to Mathematics, which is a really tangible math program, so children are able to understand conceptual knowledge of math, but also everyday math facts, and just be able to manipulate math very quickly. We have an ICT model, which stands for integrated co-teaching. So in most of our classrooms, and at least one in every grade, we have one special ed teacher and one general ed teacher, or English as a new language teacher. Every single classroom is co-taught, which gives us a 13-to-1 student to teacher ratio, which we're really proud about. We also offer extensive support for students' social-emotional learning, and also a lot of counseling, therapeutic, and social work services, because we believe it benefits our families and our staff. Current snapshot of the school. We are currently located at 401 West 164th, co-located in the M164 building with a middle school who's been there for a long time. We have a 7-person board of directors with active committee meetings, including finance, program, and development meetings. We are chartered for K to 5th grade, and we're currently K to 3, and every year we add another kindergarten until we become fully scaled. Once we are fully scaled in the school year 2022, our first year in the new building, we will have 324 children, which is also another way to say that we'll have a 324-person orchestra and a 324-person choir. Another thing that we're really proud about is our staffing. So we always try to prioritize folks, hiring folks who were born in Washington Heights or Inwood, or live in Washington Heights and Inwood. And currently we have 53 staff who live in the neighborhood, myself included. 89.4% of our students are economically disadvantaged. This is only according to the amount of people who responded. We currently have 27 families that haven't responded, but we do believe that roughly 90% are economically disadvantaged. 20% are students are English language learners, and 25% are students with disabilities, which is actually higher than CSD6. I wanted to spend a second talking about economically disadvantaged to talk about El Sistema, because El Sistema is a social inclusion program that was designed in Venezuela as a way to end poverty by music instruction. And so the idea is that kids get together and play in ensembles so that they can learn not only musical skills and abilities, but they can also learn how to be good community members to their ensemble, and ultimately to their neighborhood and to their country or world. And so at WIN, what that looks like is every day, every child has 2 periods of music. One of those periods is the orchestra, and everyone plays violin, viola, cello, or percussion. And the other is vocal class, or the choir. And so what we try to do is really teach kids the esoteric music skills, but also how to be better citizens. The goal is not necessarily to create great musicians, although we do see that happening. The goal is to create critically and socially engaged citizens of the world who use their music or their literacy or their math or their whatever to make the world around them a better place. We engender an idea of citizen artistry. So literally we work with kids in a music classroom about how they're playing music, but also the metacognition skills of what they're doing. So we'll talk to a whole entire orchestra about when a violinist is playing the melody, how does she have to articulate that melody differently? How does she have to play louder? How does she have to listen to the people around her? And then when it's her turn to not play the melody, and let's say the viola section takes over, how do the violists have to respond? What are the immediate things that they're listening and that they're working with the entire ensemble? And then moments later, when those kids transition to their math class, how are they working this together to solve a complex math problem? If they're doing one of our like ongoing science projects, how are they working together to solve a science project and ultimately impact the world around them? And so the idea is to create critically and socially engaged citizens that have upward mobility and can change the world. I wanted to go to share a little bit more about where our students come from. This came up on the committee meeting last week on the Thursday one for environment. I said I think it was roughly 85% of our students were from CSD 6. And I just wanted to pull the numbers to be accurate. And so it turns out I was a little bit off. We actually have 62% of our current students that are in CSD 6, 70% within Manhattan, and then 27% are in the Bronx. You can see the map of where all those students live to the right of your screen. Recruitment and retention is something really important. You can see the red cluster on the map. Most of our families are coming from CSD 6, and we are deeply committed to Washington Heights and Inwood. And so we try really hard to always recruit students from here. We have actually already started focusing on our recruitment efforts closer to the 181st Street area compared to 164th Street where we currently are. And over the next couple of years, while our building gets completed, we're going to continue that. And our anticipation is that the more we get our name out there as a growing school, the more and more folks will come to us. Another concern that came up was about like transportation and drop off and how that impacts the 181st Street corridor. And we completely understand that. And we have done extensive amount of work to think about what the various options are to mitigate that and to handle it. I think one of the things that hasn't really come up in the other subcommittee or the other committee meetings is the idea of after school programming and how many kids are actually leaving at a certain time. And so we see roughly 1/3 of our kids staying for after school, which goes until 6 p.m., which would mean 2/3 are roughly leaving at the end of the school day at 4 o'clock. We do anticipate our after school numbers to increase actually slightly because they have every year. But I do think that when we look at after school programming, it does take away a lot of the challenge with 181st Street during that afternoon block. Another thing that we've started to really think through is a staggered arrival and dismissal. So what would it look like to have, maybe the bus kids come first and get dropped off, and then, maybe 10 minutes after that, they're all settled in. How do we have our parents who walk or drop off at a car? And then doing the same thing for dismissal. And this idea kind of came about by looking at the impact of 181st Street and also thinking about all of the lessons we've had to learn being in our co-location. And I do think that the school has done a fantastic job of learning how to really handle these things well. It's actually at this point, Amber, I'm going to ask that you kind of hop in because Amber works with Equity Environment. She's done a significant amount of work and has been a great thought partner in all of this. And she's even come and like literally studied us and how we do things. So Amber, is there anything here you would like to add?
Yeah, just to speak to that. I mean, I've done a number of these applications, 7319 special permits. I've observed a number of schools, and I went out and did a visit of the existing WIN location. I sat out there and I observed how arrival and dismissal is handled over there. And despite them currently being co-located in an existing school with other students that they're not personally managing, I mean, I observed very safe, very orderly. They have greeters at the door during arrival and dismissal. The greeters had walkie-talkies. They were coordinating with personnel within the building as well as operations personnel. And I believe the walkie-talkies, correct me if I'm wrong, Charlie, but you guys also coordinate with for the bus arrivals, correct, and departures.
Correct.
The students are greeted. Is that
That is correct, and security.
Yeah, I mean, it just a really wonderful thing to see, like students greeted every morning with smiling faces and a fist bump as they walk in the door, you know, single file. So I just want to kind of tip my hat to Charlie and say, I really enjoyed what I saw.
Thank you. We have a great team doing a lot of great stuff. So I wanted to kind of talk about that stuff. And if we move to the next slide, there's various data points here. I'm just going to give folks a minute to read through this instead of me just kind of talking through it. So three, it's always hard to pick data points for these meetings because there's always so many. There's three that I want to talk through on this because I'm just really proud of them. The first one that I want to talk about is that third bullet point, where 35% of our students made more than 1 year's reading progress in 1 year. And the reason that's so important is that we in education talk a lot about the learning gap, right? Basically, how far below a student is performing to their grade level standard. And to be able to close that gap, a child needs to be able to progress at more than 1 year's progress. And it is no easy feat. And so it's really cool to see that we are moving the needle on that and closing the gap. And then when you kind of compare that to the bullet point right above and below it, we do have a majority of our folks who are proficient in ELA and in math. And so we're really happy and proud about that. The next one that I want to look at is the second from the bottom, where our ELLs, or English language learning students, their reading proficiency doubled. And so what we basically saw in our first year was that we had a lot of folks who were native Spanish speakers. Some of them were, recently to the country. And we knew that we needed to really step up our game in supporting them. And so we actually created a position for our English language learners. So we brought on a new staff member to work in reading intervention and to really bring them up to grade level. And it's been working. We've held that position ever since. And so it's really cool to see that because, as we know, Washington Heights and Inwood has a lot of Spanish speaking and folks. So it's great that we're able to see that much growth. The last one is the last bullet point. I know I'm biased, but I really do think we have the best parents of any school because they're so involved. So we have a working home school association, which is a more inclusive version of a parent-teacher association because it's anyone in the home and anyone in the school can join. And so they meet monthly. There's 3 working committees of the Home and School Association. Before we went to distance learning, they were planning a end of year celebration, which was going to be basically like a block party on a Saturday. So they're great. They're absolutely great. We also have a whole bunch of volunteer opportunities. So parents are constantly inside the building volunteering. We have them do like a mystery reader program where basically they come in and do a reading, like a guided reading lesson with kids. It's a lot of fun. We do a lot of parent workshops and we just have a lot of folks who are really engaged. So I'm just really thankful and proud of that. As I said earlier, I think the best way to really learn anything about the schools is just spend time with us. And so I wanted to share this video. We actually put this together like a week or 2 ago after we were, away from the school building. But I think it does start to show some of the spirit of the school. So one of the things I wanted to point out of that was just on the topic of parents. We did like a spirit day, which we do every month. Now we do them every week during distance learning, but in the building we did them every month, and we did a dress up as what profession you want to be. And so we got a lot of great folks to dress up as different things. We even had a whole bunch of parents come in and do less like a kind of a show and tell about their professions. So it was really cool to see that. If we move forward, one of the things that obviously we've been talking to the rest of the committees about is this new facilities project. And I'm not sure if Tom Gluck has been added to the panel list yet, but if he's not, it would be great to have him be able to contribute to this part. His architecture firm, Gluck Plus, has been doing some tremendous work on this. So when WIN got chartered, we signed a 3-year MOU with the New York City Department of Education to be co-located in our current building. We literally started sourcing a permanent space the day that we were chartered, which was June 14th, 2016. And we knew it was going to be hard. We were familiar with Washington Heights real estate, and so we wasted no time. It took us 2.5 years to find this location. We found a few others. None of them panned out to be possible. And this one just seemed like the right fit on a variety of reasons. So we were really happy to be able to move forward with it. Since it is taking us longer because the sourcing was so hard, we are already started working with the New York City Department of Education to extend our co-location. They've been great to work with. We're anticipating getting a 2-year extension so that we can build a building and then move out. With that, we brought on a couple of folks to work with us. Schoolhouse Project, there's a gentleman, Carlo, who's on the call listening in, who's been great and really helping us figure this all out. And then also Tom Gluck. Is Tom here? I know I saw his name on the thing, but if he can't join, I can cover.
Kelly,
Yes.
if I may, when they before they go into the actual presentation, I think it will be helpful if they can tell us a little bit about the role that they are exercising in this project, because I understand the position that each of them, have this project, but perhaps just for the general public and my colleague especially, I would like for them to know what is the role that each of these folks, they are playing. For Amber, Amanda, and Tom as well, I certainly would appreciate that very much, so we can be like fully educated and what exactly is the role in this project.
Yeah, that would be great. So Amber, if you don't mind starting, then Amanda, and then maybe that gets us enough time to be able to bump Tom up to be a presenter as well.
Sure. So Amber Cartalian with Equity Environmental Engineering. I am the environmental planner on the application. So as part of the BSA special permit under the City Environmental Quality Review Act, this application is required to go through an environmental review, which includes the preparation of an environmental assessment statement. And that includes different analyses such as traffic, air quality, noise, hazardous materials, etc. That then gets reviewed by both the Board of Standards and Appeals and then the expert agencies such as Department of Environmental Protection, Department of Transportation. So I've prepared all of the environmental studies related to this application.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
I am Amanda Ionati from the law firm of Sheldon Lobel PC. We are responsible for compiling and filing the special permit application at the BSA. And taking all the parts of the application, packaging it together, the environmental assessment statement, the architectural materials from the school, and making the application before the board and the commissioners and the chairwoman, and answering their questions when we get to hearings.
Thank you. Faye, is it possible to include Tom Gluck, who I think is in like the attendee room?
The attendees, yeah.
Yes, please, by all means. Jonathan, can you see him? Tom Gluck?
It's not Tom.
I can hear him.
And I will say that was my first time really presenting without being able to see any of the people I was presenting to. So I hope I didn't miss any facial cues or anything else. If I did, I hope you make it up by asking me good questions at the end. So if it's not possible to add Tom, I can speak about it, but so Tom Gluck is an architect from Gluck Plus, which is an architecture firm right down in Harlem that is what I like to think of as really artistic architects. The designs that they build are, to me, it's just always been very artistic, which I've always appreciated about them. They've built schools before. I don't know exactly how many, but a fair amount. And we got introduced to them and their work a couple of years ago, and through a whole vetting process, we just kind of fell in love with their designs and their spirit of everything. And so they have been helping us, or they are the architects for the project, and have been designing everything. Faye, should I move on, or do we think we should wait for Tom to be added? I'm not sure.
Well, I don't see him. Jonathan, are you with me? Can you
yes, I am here.
Can you see him? Tom Gluck?
I'm
He's
sorry,
under
say
the
that again.
attendees list.
Is who?
He's a participant because I don't see him.
He's under the attendees list, I see.
Oh, yeah, he is. There's he, yes. Allow him to talk.
Who? Let me get the name, please.
It's Tom Gluck, G-L-U-C-K.
All right. He can talk. Okay, he can talk right now.
All right.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Hey, Tom.
Yeah. So, hi.
We can hear you.
And you can unmute yourself also, okay? Now you're a panelist.
So Tom, I see that you're still muted.
Yep. Okay. Now.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Fantastic. So we're an architectural firm. We've designed a number of schools, many of which are in, actually we've done one in East Harlem, one in the South Bronx. We've done a handful of other charter schools. Our office is in Harlem on 127th Street. And this building is interesting and exciting because it's an existing building, as I think you know. It's an existing 4-story, currently used as a parking structure. It was built in the 30s. And we're going to be completely gut renovating it because obviously it's a very different use than a parking lot. But actually the bones of the building fit well for a school. It has very tall floor-to-floor heights, which are sort of an important component of school space. And it has a lot of windows, both on the street side, on 181st, and on the back. And both of those things are kind of important for the bones of a school. What's unique about the school, as you've heard Charlie talk about, is at the heart of their program is their music program. And that's kind of the hook they use that drives the whole school. And you can see the way Charlie was talking about it, how it translates into all the disciplines of elementary school. So from our perspective, we located a big 400-seat auditorium right on the ground level. So it's really the heart and soul of the mission of the school and it'll become, you can kind of see it here, it'll become present every time every student, every parent, every visitor visits the school. And so we've designed a lot of charter schools, but never one with an auditorium of this scale. Even in schools of 900 kids, get an auditorium this size is not so common. So we're really interested in having the building express the mission of the school, which revolves around the music program. And I think Charlie was going to speak a little bit about how that also, he's got plans of how that can also serve the greater community.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Tom. I mean, all of our most core values can be found in our name, and that's intentional. So like WIN, Washington Heights and Inwood, music, because we are a music school, and then community, which often goes kind of forgotten, but it's just as important to us. And obviously charter school, because we are proudly a charter school. And so with the idea of community being so central to who and what we are, we do see this space as being available to the community for, you know, appropriate uses. And so I wanted to make that point known to this group of folks, because we do want to see this building and the work that we do positively impact and be a resource for everyone in the community. So Amanda, do you want to kind of hop back in with where we are?
Sure. So we mentioned a few times that we've filed for a special permit at the Board of Standards and Appeals to allow the school to locate at this location. We've automatically referred the application and any subsequent submission to the board for review and comment. We've met with several of the other committees and answered their comments and questions so far. We've met with the Land Use Committee, the Traffic and Transportation Committee, the Health and Environment Committee, and tonight we're meeting with you. We hope that we can answer all of your questions this evening, and that when we get to the full board, most likely at the June meeting, that you will support our application for the special permit at the BSA.
Thank you. And with that, let's go to questions. I'm actually gonna bring up my video or the screen again. So I know there was a lot of information. Any and all questions, thoughts, ideas?
Say it again, Charlie.
So we just wanted to leave an open space for any questions or comments that the committee might have.
So that means that your visual presentation already has been concluded, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. This is how we will go about this. We usually allow members of the committee to ask questions first, and then we will be turning the questions to the rest of our attendees. So members of Callis, is anyone has a question? You can raise your hand if. No one? Okay, so I
have a question. How is student recruitment going to change, if at all, by moving the school location? Like, would there be a greater emphasis to include Inwood now that you are closer to the northern part of the district, or is there any planned change on recruitment strategies?
That's a great question, and I appreciate it. So we like really want to pull from every nook and cranny of CSD 6. So we are constantly trying to get more folks from Inwood to join. I think part of the challenge there is distance, especially for like the kindergarten, like the younger students. So I do anticipate that the more north we go, the more folks will have an easier time coming to us. You know, and then I think the second part of that is making sure that we have all of the great relationships with the daycares, the higher the island than we do right around the school building. I do think we have a lot of great relationships with most daycares in CSD 6, but we're always looking to get to know folks better. We do private tours for different daycares. So like basically if any daycare wants to come and tour the school, we do a private one just for them. We do info sessions at a lot of daycares. and community events and anything else we can do. But I do think that word of mouth has helped us the most.
Okay. Before I ask or allow the next question, please allow me to welcome some other members, like Maria Luna, I think is there. Also, Chris, can you please introduce yourself? Hello, Maria, go ahead. And Chris, can you hear me, Maria?
Hello, guys.
Introduce yourself.
Wow.
Should I go first?
Okay, Maria, now you can talk. You was good.
Okay, sorry,
Yes.
I was having problems lagging in. Thank you so much. Although the presentation, I missed the whole presentation, but that's okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay.
Thank you, Jonathan.
All right.
Thank you, Jonathan.
You're welcome, Maria. You're welcome, Maria. We love you.
Okay.
I'm sure before the presentation, you definitely will come up with something. Yes, Chris? Christina?
Hi, guys. How are you? My name is Christina. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Clearly.
I was talking earlier. It wasn't working. Hi, I'm Christina Richaz. I'm glad to be part of the board now. And thank you for the presentation, Charlie.
It's great to have you as the
Welcome.
board. Also.
Yes. Also, I would like to, if I may acknowledge, I know we have Scott Stringer, our controller office. We have Mariela, I think, online. She's also with us since she has joined this meeting. Although I cannot see her, I want to say thank you for being with us, and everyone as well that may have joined us later or lately. So who else? And the staff, of course. Okay, more things to come before the meeting is over. So Callis, I wanted to also ask again, is anyone has any question? Maria, I see you raise your hand.
Yeah.
Yes, Maria.
No, I don't have a question. I just, because I listened to the presentation about the constructions, since I am a member of the ARC Senior Center that is going to be next to the school. And there are some issues about the safety of the children coming in and being the bus, because the 181st Street is a very, heavy, the traffic coming from the Bronx and, Manhattan and vice versa. One of the things that I'm concerned about is making sure that the transportation is really important to make sure that the kids won't have any problems. Next to the school is going to be our center, which is a senior center that provides lunch and breakfast for about 150 seniors. We also use transportation, those blue vans that you see around that says ARC. So, and also on the other side of the school, there is a center for people, adults with disability, and they are also transported by buses. So I want to make sure that the schools are very aware that, they have to work with both groups to make sure and coordinate the traffic patterns. So in order to make everybody, for safety and security's sake, that we won't have any problems in the future. I think the school is fantastic, although as you all know, or most of the members of the committee knows, I am not a, proposals of a charter school, but this is a unique charter school. So I'm going to wish them well, wish them luck, and I'm sure that we can work together in the future.
Thank you,
So
Maria.
Just to respond to that real quick, I appreciate the well wishes. That really means a lot. And although I'm sure we could go talk about charters and whatnot for a long time, if you're down for it, once the new school year starts, we're back in the building. We'd love to have you come check us out, and see what it's really like inside. Because if you like us already, I think you'll love us once you see it. we are 100% in agreement with you that safety is the single most important thing for anyone in a caretaking position. That's why we've spent so much time focused on it. And I like you kind of said, I do think a big part of this will be creating community connections with other organizations and other people so that we can all work together to make sure that whatever we need to put in place for the success and safety of our students and all of the clients and residents of the other local organizations, we can all do that. And I do have faith that we can all do that. I think that that'll be a fun part of the work.
Thank you.
Okay.
I see Jonathan has a question. Go ahead, Jonathan, please.
Yes, can you guys let us know why did you choose this specific location?
Why we chose it? Yeah. I mean, basically, it checked off all of the boxes, and it was the only one that checked off all of the boxes. And so, you know, there were other sites that we looked at that were just significantly out of our price range. There were a lot. We even looked at everything that was off book. Like, we just found places that were the right size and approached the owners of them. And as you know, folks are not likely to sell land in Washington Heights right now. What we really liked about this was that it was the right size for us. We have a large footprint. Tom can tell you the exact footprint, but we have a large footprint because of our music department. So we needed a lot more space than a typical elementary school serving 300 and some kids. So that made it really hard. And then also, we do actually like the location. Although there is some challenges with 181st Street and the congestion there, it is a centralized location. And we do feel that it will help us reach higher on the island and folks in Inwood, as well as the folks who are more south in Washington Heights. So, I mean, the short answer is it checked off all the boxes. And when we met Gluck and felt confident we could make a design of the building that fit our needs, it was a no-brainer.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you. That's a good question.
Thank you, Jonathan. Jonathan, you have another question, Jonathan, by the way?
No.
So you raise your hand. So who else? Gabby, you have a question? Okay, no. How about you, Lenny? Lenny, you have any questions? No? All right, so I do have a few questions actually. And in between, please just raise your hand if you would like to interrupt me, because I think I have quite a few questions. So on my first question, it would be like following the policy of the good neighbors. I wonder that in that precise location, we know that we have the fire department and other entity like the post office and so forth. It's a very busy area. So I wonder if by any reason, whether or not you consider this necessarily or not necessarily, have you approached to the fire department location and let them know about your proposal?
So Amber, do you want to take that one?
In terms of the community outreach, I think Amanda can speak to that, but in terms of just the general operations of the fire department, I will say that I was out there all day with boots on the ground, observing everything that was going on the street, the fire department being one of them. And I did actually approach, an FDNY personnel and had asked it, because what I had observed was that every FDNY vehicle that was departing was stewarded actually both in the street and on the sidewalk, basically making sure that the sidewalks are cleared and that they're safe to depart. So that was something that was considered in terms of traffic, and he said that's standard protocol. And then, the FDNY movements also were taken into consideration in the noise analysis. There was, sirens caught and picked up by our noise measurements. So that's a part of determining basically the thickness of the walls and the windows.
Well, the reason why I asked the question is because I know that they constantly facing emergency. And I have witnessed myself that every time when they have one of those calls, they had to stop traffic. And being that that street is so congested. So I don't know if might be something that, you have probably considered or have planned, or the way that you're going to deal with that situation. So, but you did approach to them. Yes. Yes.
Yes. I think in terms of traffic and impact on the school, or the school's impact on the FDNY station, I mean, the number of private car drop-offs and taxis, and we're working with DOT to determine where the drop-off and pickup zone would be located. But I don't see just being as that's the opposite side of the roadway, and that would likely occur prior to that curb cut for the FDNY. I don't see that being a huge impediment on the school or vice versa. And also just given the fact that both of those intersections are fully signalized and controls, I would anticipate that the majority of pedestrians traffic associated with the school would be on the opposite side of the roadway, on the opposite sidewalk rather.
And Faye, to your point about being neighborly, like I would completely agree that we would want to, well, I mean, once we move, even before we move in, we're going to do the same thing we did with our current building, which is talk to all of the folks who are right around our immediate area. We have great relationships with the folks in the 33rd precinct. And, I think just being good neighbors means that we'll get in touch with them as we get closer to being there and establish a good relationship.
Okay, well, I think it's a good policy because I know that it's going to come on time in which you may have the kids, exiting the school, and then they may have emergency in which, you will have then, stopping everybody. So and so forth. That kind of a scenario, I see that coming as well. And where we have to exercise patience, I guess. So my next question also is that considering that, before I pose that question, I wanted to ask you, how many students are you projecting to have on each of these grade?
So 54.
Knowing that it's going to be from first, yes.
So we have 54 kids in every grade. Each classroom has 27 kids. Full school, 324.
How many? Say again, Charlie, please again. How many students in each classroom?
Yeah. Each classroom has 27 children with 2 teachers, and there's 2 classes in every grade. So 27 kids per class, 2 classes per grade, which means 54 children per grade. And at full scale, that would be 324 kids K to 5.
Very good. Well, it's not that bad compared to a school that had 32 and 30 students in one classroom. And having two teachers, it really makes a difference as well. I also would like to know, Charlie, let's see, what is my, okay. Okay, are you expecting, or you have thought probably, you have, your neighbor is going to be several schools in the area, like IS 143, 528, PS 132. You also have the Wheels, the Square Charter School as well, and maybe which one, another one that I even tapped, charter school. So I wonder if you are planning to, which I guess is common sense, to kind of or if you have thought about collaborating with the school, and if you are planning to collaborate with them, like in which way you think that you would be collaborating with these schools?
Yeah, so there's been a few of the schools that you mentioned that we're actually really close to. Some of them we've literally done like they've helped train some of our staff. We've done some stuff for them. So we're pretty close to a lot of them. To me, a lot of this starts coming or a lot of the specific thing here would be about how we work with the schools around us, whether they're traditional public schools or they're public charter schools, to do things that affect all of us. So like if there is a lockdown drill, or if there is, like we have to take all of the children out from our school to a different school, how can we partner with the schools closest to us so that we can be a satellite site for them if they're in emergency, and they can be for us? And so I think that as we get closer to the opening of the school, we're going to engage in those conversations with those folks. And personally, I would want to start with the schools that are closest to us, and then kind of fan out from there.
Very good. Well, I know that especially IS 143, I think that they have a music program, and I can see that the possibility that you perhaps even, I think the Square Charter School, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah. I see possible collaboration, with them. Charlie, I also wanted to ask you in terms of challenges, this is a, considering how hectic area this is it, and it's so different from where you are situated. You are presently, as you said in your presentation, on 164 in Edgecombe Avenue. I remember when you propose, when you had a discussion with the DOE at that time, when the CC as well, about proposing the co-location of that school, which, by the way, and before I ask you the question, I'm wondering how your experience so far has been in that particular size.
So the first question is, how has our experience been in the co-location?
The second question I have not asked it yet.
Yeah, I mean, overall, it's been fantastic. I mean, working with the leadership of the middle school is very easy, in my opinion. They're super responsive. I check in with the vice principal of the school almost daily. Even just like a week or two ago, I was emailing with the principal about setting up a building council meeting remotely. Problems, when they arise, which is not often, but when they do, they're solved really quickly. And so there hasn't been any like major problems the way that I've read about a lot of other co-locations across the city happening. I think the hardest part for us has been that we're on the 4th floor of that building, and there's no elevator or accessibility. So like we have kindergartners who have to walk up 4 or 5 flights of, because the cafeteria is in the basement. So walk up 5 flights of stairs multiple times a day, and it's just hard. It's hard on their little bodies, and it takes a lot of time. So it takes away from instruction. And so, that to me has been the main challenge. But knowing how hard it is for schools to find space in the city, I'm just really grateful to the DOE and to the folks in the middle school that have graciously shared their space with us.
Well, I understand then why you exactly wanted them to move your school to another location. Being in a 4th floor and no elevator, it can really pose a challenge for many, students, especially handicapped students, that they not the ability to, to climb stairs and so forth. So my actual question is in regard to this side where on West 181st. What would be the main challenge of challenges that you foresee coming, at that side? Because remember, I understand that there is no perfect project, no perfect, proposal, and everything has a negative side or something that we would like to improve. And if that is the case, which I suspect it might be the case, what would be that?
That's a great question. It's hard for me to say like a specific thing, because in doing this now for like 4 years, the thing that I've realized is it's the things that I can't predict. It's the things that I can't anticipate. It's the things that just randomly we have to make this whole entire school digital that makes everything harder. And so I kind of always leave I try to be extremely diligent with planning for every possible situation. And I try to always remind myself that the things that are going to come up are probably things that I can't anticipate. So the unknown is definitely, a part of it. I wonder what the impact is going to be to our current families. I have one, there's one family who lives on the exact block that we go to school with right now. And without getting into details about their specific situation, it's extremely important to them, and an accessible need, we'll say, to be close to the school. And so like, they're literally trying to find a new apartment as close as possible to the new location. Like, they're already looking for it. And I'm just so enamored by that because I think it speaks really highly about our families and how much they're willing to do. But, I worry about, the other folk and what the move up, like 20 blocks is going to do. And, I think everyone's going to be okay, but I think everyone's going to be nervous. I think people are going to be scared, and I think that's okay. I think a large part of our job is to help them through that fear and anxiety during any kind of change. I think when they realize the things that we're getting, the theater, the gymnasium, the brand new rooms, air conditioning and heating, I think the benefits so outweigh any of the challenges. And the thing that I'm curious about is our current like kids are K to 3, and as they grow up, they'll be the 4th and 5th graders, right? And what that will do to arrival and drop off here, so I'm just kind of curious about that. Not sure if that answered your question. If it didn't, push back.
Well, I feel the way you answer the question is it makes sense. You cannot predict the the future, but I was thinking more linked to the fact that that is a very busy area. For example, talking about when the buses coming to drop the kids and pick up the kids. Considering all this a scenario, kids living, or coming out of the subway, all this together, it's must be some kind of challenge. I understand that this precise area discussing about the buses, the buses, and the traffic of students coming out of the subway and back and forth was discussed in one of the committee. I think it was the Health and Environment Committee. But I'm not sure whether or not anyone asked that precise question. So I'm thinking that not only you, but your team that are presenting along with you, they must have thought of something that they may feel that needs improvement, and perhaps it's something that they would like to share under their own discretion, of course, with the community board in terms of seeking for help in case that we can help. But I think it would be interesting to know what kind of challenges you are seeing or foreseeing, before this proposal being, approved. So, but if you not precisely know exactly, I wonder if maybe one of your colleagues may want to, share any information about that. Maybe Tom, maybe also Amber.
So maybe this is Tom Gluck.
Yes.
I can talk to some of it, and I think Amber should speak to some of it. She can talk more about the impact on the street, because there's been an enormous amount of discussion among all 3 of the previous community board committees that we've been in. But one of the ones I wanted to talk about was the impact of the sound on the street on the classroom, because I think, as you all probably know, a quiet school environment has direct correlations to high performance kids. And so it's very important, the environmental factors in the classroom. And since half the classrooms are going to be on 181st Street, we spent a particular attention, and it'll actually be a requirement from BSA that we provide a level of sound within the classroom that's quite quiet and conducive to the teaching kids. So it's one, not distracting, and two, just having large ambient noise can actually wear on especially kids while they're trying to focus and learn. So that's one of the things that we've done specifically in response to its current location, which, as you've noted, is quite busy and noisy, and there are fire trucks across the street. And so we're providing windows and a wall assembly, how we build the wall and the windows that we're putting in, that will be sure to filter most of the noise to bring it down to a level that is within kind of parameters as determined by acousticians and the like. Amber, I'm going to turn this over to you because she actually took sound readings on the street at several times of the day, and she can talk more about them. Go ahead, Amber.
Yeah, so in terms of, I want to focus more on traffic, but in terms of the noise, as Tom had stated, we went out and we did at multiple different locations. We took the noise readings to collect the ambient sound, and then we actually looked at the different areas of the school and basically identified which facades require what level of attenuation. And, that's all been provided to Tom, and they're going to, DP has reviewed that, and, ultimately what is approved and on the site plan in terms of the level of noise attenuation will be incorporated into the building. But in terms of traffic, I just want to say that because this is a 7319 special permit involving a school, this not only has the normal environmental analyses, but there's also findings related to that special permit, including student safety. So there's two different divisions of the Department of Transportation that will actually review our materials and this application. And DOT school safety in particular will work with us and provide recommendations and review what we're proposing and potentially alterations to that proposal to ensure that there are no adverse impacts related to student safety. So as of right now, we've kind of identified various scenarios for where loading and unloading could occur associated with bus drop-offs and caregiver private car drop-offs. And we've basically identified an area that could accommodate at one time two full-size yellow school buses, which is what we're projecting at full grade capacity. And that's why we had kind of had this conversation with Charlie preemptively to discuss staggered arrivals and dismissals and releasing yellow bus students first so that there's less congestion and less queuing of vehicles during drop off and pickup to keep traffic moving, get the buses out, and you can coordinate with DOE in terms of the bus stops and the times that the students are coming to the bus stops to ensure that that's staged appropriately. That's something that, they do a run before commencement on that. I know, I'm sorry?
I couldn't hear the last part. The conversation is getting cut.
Okay. No, I was just going to say that, we had a discussion with Charlie and we're still working through the specifics of it, but that, we've identified an area where, or options in terms of vehicle loading and unloading, a school no standing zone for vehicle drop-offs and pickups. And that can accommodate at one given time up to two full-size school buses. So this is kind of where it led into the conversation of the staggering of arrival and dismissal, releasing yellow bus students first, so that the entirety of that school no standing zone can then be utilized for caregiver pickups and drop-offs to make sure that traffic can continue moving and there's less queuing of vehicles. So that's one thing that we've taken into consideration. In terms of, we know as of right now that the project will require what's called a pedestrian level of service at the sidewalk of the school frontage. And essentially what that does is we look at the existing traffic a number of pedestrians on that sidewalk. And then, you know, you add any background projects that are anticipated by the builder, and then you add on to that the traffic associated with the school, and that gets a grading of A to F. And essentially, if it's determined that there is not sufficient space to accommodate the increase of students, which it's each student and associated caregiver trip, inbound and outbound, there would be mitigation measures there. Such as a widening of a sidewalk, for instance. I don't anticipate that we'll be there, but all of that gets evaluated as part of the seeker review process.
Thank you. Well, it's all within the possibility, especially in such a busy, you know, area. It's a lot of traffic, and traffic, I get, is personally one of my main concern. And that's why I asked those questions related to, including the one with the, you know, having the fire department just right in front, basically, of the facility. So one very last question that I have is that understanding that you have been presenting so far in the Health and Land Committee, not sure on the traffic or if it's pending, but certainly I am very grateful and thankful that, you know, you had been so mindful, the word I want to say, by bringing, you know, this conversation to each of these, you know, committee, especially the Youth and Education Committee that, you know, plays, I think, my personal opinion, an important role, because it's about education, it's about our, you know, population that we advocate for. But I wanted to ask you, I understand that from this committee, you ought to go back to the Land and Use Committee, I guess, where things are going to have the final, is going to happen, the final discussion will take place there. So beyond that, I wonder if you have thought about, or you are planning to have a virtual community public hearing, which I personally, and I'm sure my colleague feels that this is something that should happen. And the community need to know exactly about this project, although we have many folks joining, you know, these meetings. But I'm sure that there is a lot of folks in our community that perhaps they not even speak the language, but they ought to know exactly, you know, what is coming in our community for whatever reason, whether they wanted to join, you know, or register their kids in your school, or they just wanted to provide their opinion. And I wanted to highlight an experience that the community had a few years ago when Success Academy came to Fort Washington. At that time, I was at the Community Education Council in District 6, and we were very upset, I should say, because when the proposal came to establish that school, we were not informed, and they not even offered a public hearing. And that was something that captivated our you know, attention. And I think this is one of the things that also today it's something that we haven't forgotten. And I don't like to, I want to say that I don't want to see that happen again with another school. And knowing, especially WIM, since WIM started that, you know, came to our committee, inform us about your intention. And today you're planning to move further, you know, and share your improvement with us is something that I really don't take necessarily light, but I truly appreciate the fact that you had made also aware, you know, of your plan and by providing, you know, this presentation. So I wonder, and on my final question, are you planning to have this virtual community public hearing after, you know, you complete your conversation with Community Board 12?
I mean, to be honest, I'm not sure. We have done public meetings with our school communities or with our school community. So I feel really confident that we've heard from all of the folks inside the school. We've been talking about this at our own board meetings for years now. To me, we want to be transparent and open, and we want to make sure that we're moving everything along quickly because we are in a tight timeline to be able to get this building built within the 2 years that the DOE is going to do for hopefully agree to do for co-location extension. Through the co-location extension, we've done multiple public meetings with the DOE and talked about this exact project. So I would trust Amanda and the rest of the team here to kind of point us in the right direction about where to go and how to get there. As you say, our intent is always to be transparent and share everything with the community. So I think it's just a matter of what the appropriate next steps are.
Well, thank you. But I think that the board can help you actually if you speak to our chairman and the rest of the committees, including ourselves. I think that just to seal your disclosure, your transparency, I think that perhaps it's something that you may want it to facilitate to the community. This is just a suggestion, not even an advice, because I always heard since I was a little girl that only attorney gives advice. So this is just a suggestion. So and I think that the board can help you with that, just to seal, about the fact that you wanted to bring your school to West 181st. I think it would be the right thing to do. And basically that is my last question. So I want to turn now the question to the rest of the our attendees, and by all means just raise your hand. So just signal us that you have a question. Charlie and your team, I wanted to thank you from my side deeply for for this presentation. So questions are open to the rest of the attendees.
I have a question, but I'm a board member. Just hi everybody. I heard through your presentation and thank you again for participating here. My question is, I want to echo Faye's I guess concern with traffic and transportation. I do see how it could be an issue, but hopefully you guys are able to rectify or just work alongside all people around the neighborhood to ensure that kids are safe, because I know that street is probably one of the busiest streets in our community, given the firehouse and bus stops and so on and so forth. So just considering all factors. But what I do want to ask is more so based on like engaging the community to I guess participate in, or I guess enroll into the school. So I wanted to know more or less like what's the application process. I don't know if in the presentation you guys delved into it. So what's the application process? Is it bilingual? And how can somebody apply to your school in the future?
Great question. So to apply, folks just have to go to winmusic.org. So that's WHINMUSIC.org. And when it pops up, there'll actually be like a yellow button, like apply here, and you can just click that and apply. So that's the easiest way to apply. We are currently accepting applications for the wait list for next year. But we'd love to have as many folks apply as possible. So I'd strongly encourage it. And then if I understand correctly, you also said it's something about like, is it bilingual? And so part of our co-teaching model, so to get a little bit in depth, if we have like 2 classes in each grade, right? One of them is like a special ed teacher and a general ed teacher for general purposes right now. The other classroom is a general ed teacher and an English as a new language teacher. So every grade has a bilingual classroom. We are not a dual language school. There are a lot of dual language schools in Washington Heights. We're just not one of them. We are bilingual though. What we shoot for is in both classes to have an ENL teacher and a special ed teacher. That's just really hard to staff. Most of our classrooms have that right now, and every year we try and staff to have ENL and special ed teachers in every classroom. But based on our model, we have at least one in every grade.
Got it. So that sounds great. I mean, I was asking more so if the application process is it offered to like in Spanish, being that a lot of our community residents are Spanish speaking.
Yeah, everything we do is presented in English and Spanish, and also other languages. But when you go to that link, it'll actually, like, you can choose, like, do you want to do this in English or do you want to do it in Spanish?
Got it. If I hear right now you guys are K through 3. I'm sorry, Jonathan, you had a question?
Yes. Suggestion. Charlie, can you quickly please show the address that you just mentioned, so people that will watch our video on YouTube can see the address?
Sure.
Maybe you can share it on your screen for a few seconds.
Sure. Hold on one sec. How do I do that again?
Yeah, Wallace, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I'll wait till you do your thing first.
So there's our website and some of our amazing winners. So the website is in the top left corner, right? Or darn it, hold on.
Yeah, we can see it.
It's up here, WHINMUSIC.org. And then you can scroll down and check out a whole bunch of things, but you would want to click here for apply to K through 4th grade. Usually it doesn't take this long. And then here you can do it in English or you can do it in Spanish.
Cool. Okay, that's well enough. So.
And.
All right.
Yeah, so my next question, I have 2 more questions. So my next question is, you guys are right now K to 3, correct?
Correct.
Is the K to 5 going to happen after these next 2 years are up, after the co-location agreement is, I guess, terminated, and you guys are hopefully get into this building?
Yeah, so the way it works, every year we add another kindergarten, and as kids grow up, the upper grades fill. So right now, if we have like K first and or K 1, 2, and 3, next year we're going to add another kindergarten, and this will be 2nd, 3rd, 4th. And so the first year that we're fully scaled K to 5 will be the last year in our current building.
Okay. And then my last, it may not necessarily be a question, but more so like a suggestion. I believe there was a Luperón was on 181st many years ago. I can't remember when. I would maybe recommend perhaps having a conversation. I don't know if people are still there that were there back then, to maybe get some advice or something like as to like maybe how they navigated, being in 181st Street. And maybe, so that way you guys don't necessarily run through the same quote unquote mistakes they may have, or no need to reinvent the wheel, but just kind of like get some type of guidance maybe.
That's a great suggestion. They're actually right around the corner. We did our like incubating there before we entered the school for a few weeks. But yeah, that's a great suggestion. That's a great suggestion. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Waldy. I really think so. Yeah, it's a great suggestion. And I think one of the person that we perhaps may talk to, or you may talk to, will be the former principal, Juan Villar. That he is actually the actual principal for the media and communication at George Washington High School.
Yeah.
So you can contact him. I think that would be a great source of information that you can gather, from him. Yes. So who else is wanted to have another question? Lenny, Mr. Henson has any question?
Not today. He's in bed.
Okay. So anybody else? Jonathan? Also, yeah.
No, you're good so far.
1, 2, and 3. All right. Well, if no one else has any question at this point, then I guess I wanted to say thank you deeply for so informative presentation. We definitely wish you all the best. You personally have me in your corner because I know how unique, like Maria said, WIN is and what exactly what it represents for our community. And in any way that I can possibly can help as a member of this community. So you can count on my support. So thank you.
Thank you, Faye, and thank you to the whole committee, or the whole the whole committee. You know, I deeply appreciate the opportunity to be here and present to you all and to talk about education. So thank you deeply.
John and Amanda, I should say your name as well. Thank you too very much for all you do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your
One
time
last
tonight.
thing. One last thing, guys. Just in case, if anybody else that did not join this meeting is maybe interested in this information that Charlie gave us, please share our YouTube channel, which is CB12M NYC. Again, CB12M NYC. That's our YouTube channel. So anyone can go to our channel and watch and listen to this interesting information.
Will do.
Thank
Thank you.
you, Jonathan. And thank you all. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, a virtual. All right, so now let's move to the next phase of our agenda, which is new business. So if anyone has an announcement, this is the time to make that announcement. And of course, I would like for you to report before me. So is anyone has any thing to share with us, just please raise your hand or just let Jonathan know. Any announcement?
No, I think
Yes.
Like 7 users just got disconnected from the meeting. I think they understood that we finished the meeting. That's why they left.
Oh. All right.
Okay.
It's okay. Let's go ahead.
Begin the agenda. I said.
I was gonna say I know that I'm sure everybody knows, but just as I guess speak about it in a full public forum that school is officially closed until next fall. I don't think we ever spoke about that, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes. Well, there is a pending conversation on that I actually going to. We should also mention something about. But if you want to share any information that you think is important, please, by all means, just do it, please.
Not necessarily, just stating that, really. If I'm not mistaken, public schools close up until fall of next year, correct?
Until September, yes, until the new year start. But everything is in limbo, basically, meaning
Right.
that all predictions are not 100%, necessarily are going to be the way that they are predicted. Things may change anytime, yes. So I wanted to share a few announcements and also make comments on certain issues that I would like for you to, to research or to put your eyes on it. And first of all, we're going to have next May 7th. Well, it's already gone, but I don't know if you already get to see it. But the PEP, which is the panel for education policy of DOE, the April meeting they have to cancel. At that meeting, according to class size matter, they supposed to discuss an issue that I think is very important, for the school community, in which the mayor is considering to discuss the grading policy, because as you probably may know, is huge concern in terms of how kids are going to be grading, how they are going to be graduating under these circumstances that that we are facing, how they are going to be graded. So the panel of education was supposed to have a discussion in April, but the meeting was canceled and then was rescheduled for May 7 at 6 p.m. So that's something that you wanted possibly to research, because I know that the recording, it's something that you can go on YouTube and see the conversation. Another pending issue was that that is going to be a budget cut, and that this is something that everybody is very worried, because unfortunately every time there is a budget cut, the first agency that is affected is DOE, is the Department of Education. So and not directly the Department of Education, but also wanted to say our kids, our students, because a budget cut means that we may have perhaps, if that go in effect, so that means we may have less social worker, we may have less after school programs, and these are vital things that that we need for our school, for our students, regardless the situation that we are facing. Because I understand that although we are still going viral on every meeting and every a school classroom, so I hope that by September, things go back to normal. But like I said before, everything, is still in limbo. So another issue that the other panel was supposed to discuss was the fact that the mayor, since April, March and April, including May, so far they have not been able to reestablish the actual classroom or student going into school. So there is no need to pay transportation or to pay the school buses for transportation, because they're not in use. So, but I understand that the mayor is planning to, or was supposed to vote at the panel committee to continue paying those buses for services that they are not given, or are not in use. And this is something that had captivated the attention of many in our city, including class size matter. And she's been very vocal about this situation, because she feels that instead of paying for buses that are not in use, why not taking that resources or that funding for other important resources that are much more in need. So this is something that I wanted you to put your eyes on it and to research the panel. What was the actual conversation at the panel for education policy this past May 7? So you can update, yourself in terms of what is going on there. I also wanted to add to the same conversation that the controller, Scott Stringer, he wrote a letter questioning the chancellor about precisely, why the Department of Education, had decided to pay, these buses when they are not using, the service. So through this meeting, I would like, and at the same time that I sharing this information with you, I think it will be a great idea if the controller let us know whether or not he had an answer from the Chancellor Carranza on the letter that he sent it. This is the letter. I don't know if you can see it. Let's see. Well, I'm going to slowly. This was the letter that the controller sent, and it's reference emergency contract extensions for the school bus transportation. Remember, the issue here at the center is that the mayor will be paying this will be paying for this bus transportation for March, April, and May, when these services are not being in use, and this is the concern. So this is why the Scott Stringer sent a letter to the Chancellor, Richard Carranza, questioning exactly what was the motive behind that. Another announcement that I would like to share with you, another information that I would like to share with you would be the forum. My colleagues, as you know, and but members of the public may not know this. I wanted to tell you that we had advanced in terms of the research that we are doing in our community, other community as well, in terms of what is the reality behind this corona virus, you know, when it comes to families, our students, what is their experience looks like. So we are preparing and to basically disclose or share all this information in a forum that we hopefully may have at the end of May, if not early June. We are trying to so far to see which are who are the folks that is going to be on the panel. So we had sent I'm not going to say that we have sent, because actually that is still in draft, but we are considering, would be for lack of a better word, we are considering who exactly ought to be there, but we definitely going to have the actual subject, the person that are really being affected, like students, their parents, and also educators who's going to be at the table sharing, you know, their experience. So hopefully out of that experience, you know, and all this information that we are putting together, hopefully some of our, you know, education leaders may consider it, you know, perhaps to implementing policy to improve the experiences of those that had been hardly, you know, affected on this coronavirus, you know, crisis that we all have been experienced. So again, stay tuned. So sometime at the end of May, June, early June, we will have that forum. And I believe basically this is what I wanted just to share with you. Besides to remind you that our next meeting will be held in June 8th. That would be our next meeting. What else I wanted to share with you? Yes, very important. Due to the uncertainty that we are also facing, unfortunately, our Saturday meeting has been canceled. We're not going to have Saturday meetings until perhaps next year. I don't know. We still have to play by ears. So what exactly is going to happen? Because we don't know how this situation is going to dissolve it. So in the meantime, we just have to wait and pray that thing goes back to normal. I'm sure that all we can do is just hope, thinking that I don't think that we're going to, everything is going to be exactly as you know, as it was before, unfortunately. So we have to kind of be prepared, I guess, for the worst and hope for the best. But I think that in every change comes with a challenge, but hopefully this will be for the better. That's my hope. So right now it's 10 minutes to 9 o'clock. I'm wondering if any one of you want to add any comment.
See, Maria wants to say.
Yes, Maria.
Listening to all this thing about the budget and how it's going to be impacting, paying for buses, paying for drivers, paying for all these things. I think that by on the next month meeting, Faye, you should be maybe getting also information about how the youth are going to be impacted during the summer when there's going to be no summer jobs. Also, what is going to happen during the summer month when the children are not supposed to be in schools, but they are going to be home. They are not going to have, they have nothing to be done as, you know, in their homes, because there's not going to be school, there's not going to be teachers available. What is the future in those months, July and August? And I think that it's important that we should get some information back before, for the months of, for the meeting on June 8th. There's nothing we can do about the budgets right now, but it is really important to know how the families are going to deal with a young person that relies for, some money for in jobs that are not going to be there, because most of those things are closed. The corporations are not going to probably give them the opportunities to pay them, because they're also going to be closed. So my concern is how are we're going to provide for the youth employment, the unemployment of the youth during the summer month.
That's very important, Maria. And this is something that is really worrying us, at least personally, is worrying me as well, because as you know, one of the things that we've been all along advocating is for summer youth employment. And we're trying to figure out exactly how this is going to happen, because last I heard, they had canceled the funding for summer youth employment. So I don't know how exactly this is going to play. And let me tell you, summer is around the corner. So these kids have suffered already enough by being, jailed in their own house or in their own apartments. So we need to find ways, so especially like finding ways so they can, be more productive in terms of, finding jobs. I don't know how this exactly is going to happen, but it must be a way. But I think the conversation, is still on. So let's hope to see that, something positive happen on that side. I was also thinking that even though the actual government had decided to cancel those funding, so I'm wondering if those agencies that are receiving funding and will be receiving funding, and their side, they can perhaps come up with some kind of ideas as to how they can, provide youth with employment. I don't know. Perhaps they can provide some kind of assistance for them, employ them in some capacity.
And I just say something, they are not going to be receiving the money, and there's nothing that they can do about it. And that's the concern, because they won't be able to employ the young people into any services. Right now, what we are seeing improving or increasing the health services, and the jobs that are there are for, medical, hospitals, and things like that are not able to do anything because of the virus situation, because the priority right now is taking care of the people who are very ill. So it's just that I think we need to question what is going to happen to the young people, how we're going to deal with them with no jobs. And I think that the crime is going to increase, because, once you are poor and you need things, that push some people to do the wrong thing. Not everybody, but a lot of them. So the security of our young people in the summer is extremely important, that we need to question. And maybe the Board of Education or the City Council or the mayor can give us an idea of how to deal with that situation during July and August. Thank you.
Well, as pessimistic as the picture looks like, I certainly hope that something positive comes out of all this, because we really need to find a way to, help the kids. We really need to. We really need to. All right. Anybody else?
I mean, something else to like kind of in the same fabric of like what you guys are talking about with like the summer and the youth, and how the impacts of like summer youth programming and stuff. Another thing that is kind of concerning as well is like how parks are still like limited and stuff right now. Like for example, like basketball rims are like not there anymore, and that's something that a lot of high schoolers and junior high schoolers tend to do in the summers, which is play basketball, play baseball, and so on and so forth. So that's again something else to think about as well, because even something productive like being in the park and like working out or just playing sports is also, there's limitations and stuff around that.
Yeah. Anybody else? Thank you, Audrey. Sistema, you want to say anything?
I'm just thinking, listening to you guys, wondering if there's going to be any ways that the CARES Act will sort of implement a special unemployment for the youth, perhaps, being that some parents qualify for the CARES Unemployment Act right now because their kids are at home and they're unable to work. So I'm just thinking to myself to just keep on doing research in my financial realm to see what kind of umbrellas will open. And I'm just thinking technology wise, what are some creative ways, right? Like let's say this does continue to happen. What are some creative ways that we can help the youth in the summer, right? Maybe they may not be able to still go outside, but what are some things we can do indoors that can continue to keep them entertained or even help them to grow? I'm not sure what those things are yet, but my mind is sort of doing a little bicycle thing right now, and hopefully they'll have some more ideas as the weeks progress.
Thank you, Christina. Well, one thing that I know that definitely would be a good idea if this can be materialized is to prepare them for the workforce. Many employers in the past, they have complained that the kids, they don't have the basic skills to work. And I think that this is something that the youth employment, the Department of Youth can possibly may put together. I think that even starting at the end of this month, if it's possible, as soon as possible, I should say, perhaps this is something that they should consider. And by the way, I'm sitting in that committee, in one of these committee, and I think that this is something that I'm going to propose to them. So hopefully, this is something that they will take in consideration. But in your side, and any possible encounter that you come with any agency, Department of Education, or city agency that that deals with youth, this is something that we should mention. We should prepare our children, our students, for the workforce. We really want them to be to provide summer employment, but we also need to prepare them for that.
I know that actually there are two available programs on the Department of Labor. One is UI, which is the unemployment insurance, right? Which is the one that is available for those people that were employed and after the this pandemic they got into unemployment, right? This program is available actually for those people, but there is also another program for people that used to work as self-employed, which is the PUA or pandemic unemployment assistance, right? Which is another $600 weekly, which is not a bad amount, right? For those people that they did not report any employment in the past, so they can online apply for this program, and they might be able to get this 600 weekly. Okay. In our community, actually, we have a lot of people that they don't have like fixed work. They are self-employed or they have different kind of work that they don't report, and they actually are able to apply to this PUA program, which is still available, and they will charge this amount for like 16 weeks. Actually, this program is available from bottom March until July will be available. So actually, they can apply online. I actually enrolled like two different people from my family, and one of them One of them started getting the money, and the other one is still waiting for approval. But at least he is online, right? To start getting this amount.
Just to get by at least, yes.
Right.
Can I just, Jonathan, can I just,
Sure.
Jonathan, where did I get that information for the application for that money that is available? Is that online? Is that a?
Yeah, it is.
How do you- how
It
would
is
you get-
online. If you try to call by phone, you are not going to be able to contact them because actually they have a bunch of calls, and what they are doing right now is that they are saying, "Do not call. We are going to contact you. Try to go online and apply, and we will contact you as soon as we have you on track." I can show you. I can show you the website quickly. Let me try to open it for you guys.
What are you following that? Should I allow Christina to speak? She raised her hand, please.
Oh, thank you. That's what I was referring to when I was talking about the unemployment under the CARES Act. So it's the one that Jonathan is talking about. And yes, he's 100% correct. They may not be able to get like the regular unemployment, but they can possibly get this unemployment.
Right.
If their kids are at home due to the COVID situation, if anyone in their family was, infected or anything that's related to COVID, they definitely can apply. And I have been helping a lot of my clients with the application, and they are starting to now get it, even though it took them maybe 2 months to apply or a month. There's a huge delay because the system that they created for unemployment was not anticipating something of this nature to happen. It's very outdated. And so this is why it's taking a long time. I still tell them to try to call if possible, and just try to call like super early in the morning. Like try to be the first thing. 8 o'clock in the morning is when they usually open. They're also open on Saturdays, Monday and through Sunday, the whole weekend. So definitely apply. It's on the unemployment website. Jonathan, if you need any assistance, I'd be glad to help you. But from what I'm seeing, some families are actually getting a lot more money right now than they may have been in another situation. So I'm hoping that they may release another stimulus package, which is also something that they're sort of talking about. And hopefully, this can withhold the family until things go back to normal.
All right, and this information is actually very, very interesting for most of our community because most of them they are not calling, they are not applying because they think they don't qualify because they do not report like normally, right? When you are like employee or stuff like that, most of our community they are not regular employee, and that's why they are not applying to this um, program. So I don't. Can you see my screen right now?
Yes, I see the how does it affect you?
Right. No. I want to show you guys the difference between one program and another. So actually, this is a regular one that most of the people probably don't qualify for. This is the UI, unemployment insurance, which is specifically for those people that are actually unemployed, but they were employed before of the pandemic. And here you can double check. You can check if you do qualify for this particular program, the UI one. And this is the other one, the PUA, which is a pandemic unemployment assistance. This is the one most of us do qualify for this. Okay, and I encourage you to send or share this information with a lot of people that are out there without this good money. All right, so this is the website. I'm gonna share it with you on the email.
Yes, if you can send me the link, or I already see it, but if you can send me just the link, I would love to share this link with District 6 schools, especially with the with the superintendent office so that he can send it to the to all the principal, or I can also send it to the principal. But I can also send it to the parents that I already know and the students as well. So they can read on it and make use of it.
Yeah. I'm gonna send you the email out. And again, this is a very very good help for most of us that are not probably receiving money for our employee. And it's actually 39 weeks. Okay, this program, this benefit is for 39 weeks, right? Which is a very good help. That would be 600 weekly for 39 weeks. And this is regardless you already applied for the UI. I mean, even though you are collecting money for the unemployment insurance, which is a regular one, let's say you are getting 500 something for this program, even though you are enrolled on this one, you can still apply for the PUA, and you are gonna get another extra 600 weekly. I don't know if you guys follow me.
Yes, I am.
All right. So that means you're going to be getting, if you already apply for the UI and you are getting 500 something, you can still apply for this one. And you're going to get an extra 600. That will be like 1,100. Not bad. 1,100 is not bad amount weekly.
Well, the first thing they have to read requirements to see whether or not who is eligible. Yes. All right. So, Jonathan, send me the link, and I will share with everyone or everybody. Okay. The last thing that I wanted just to say, which I almost forgot, is that our annual event that usually falls in May. So Youth and Police Building Bridges, unfortunately, won't be held this year. We already during fall last year, 2019, we decided, or the planning committee decided, that we wanted to change for either September or October, not knowing, what was going to happen, what we are facing today. And the reason why we decided on that was because there was a lot of activity going on, per se events in our community. So we really felt that, we should probably change the date. So we met with the police department, and they agreed that, perhaps September or even October was a better, time to have the event. But right now, as it is, I'm not sure exactly whether or not we're going to have Youth and Police Building Bridges this year, unless we may come up with some ideas, which I highly encourage you to think about, some kind of event as a virtual event. So what will be that? So I'm going to leave that for you as a homework, if it's not too much to ask, to see exactly what we can come up with. But I think that although we may not be able to physically have this event in Internet as we do every year, so our 5th anniversary is going to be so far virtual, if we decide on having it. So more discussion on that remain pending, perhaps for June, which is going to be our last meeting until September. So, but think about it to see exactly what would be like the unfolding of Youth and Police Building Bridges as a virtual, event. I will need your thought on that. Other than that, I think this is it for me. Anybody else has any question, any comment? I'm waiting for Mr. Hanson to come. Yes, Maria.
Just remember the census. Let's finish with the census. We need to make sure that everybody, fills out the census. Have a great time, right now, because I think that by having snow in May, since we didn't have it since 1977, you never know. Faye, I give you, so much credit for your optimism about having the, the youth and the police working together. I cannot see that far, but the census is extremely important. Make sure that everybody that you see, that you speak with, make sure that we respond to the census. The census is critical to the future of our communities, our economy, the redistricting, and everything else that affects our communities based on how many people respond to the census. So thank you so much. Listen, these meetings by Zoom are not good. I ate about like 2 bars of chocolate right now. I cannot stay home because I'm going to gain about like 75 pounds. Look at Gabriela having chips. This is not good. I mean, we need to do something a little more exercise and refrain for eating when we having this meeting. Okay, thank you so much, Faye. Nice meeting. Let's finish this. What time is it?
9:12 actually.
All right. Take care.
Bye, guys. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Welcome.
Bye,
Bye,
all.
guys. Good night.